Did you receive an email?
No idea. I just gotta figure that out.
The time is now 7:11. I would like to call the Beloit City Council meeting to order at this time. Can we have a roll call?
All councilors are present.
Second order of business, the Pledge of Allegiance. May we all stand, please. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Third item of the day, special orders of the day and announcements, please. 3A.
3A is introduction of newly hired and promoted employees.
We'll have Police Chief Z come forward first, please.
There you go. Notice the choreographing. Good evening, councilors. I'm excited to introduce you to our 5 newest guardians. Oscar Asilis, Isaac Ashe, Michael Doran, Michael Higuchi, and Nicole Pettit. Michael's already on field training, and the other 4 are in the academy at Black Hawk Tech, set to graduate May 31st, after which we'll be within 1 of full staffing. So not only are we excited to have this great group of new officers, but we're pretty close to being up to snuff.
Thank you very much. Welcome. Public Works Director, Mrs. Williamson.
I'm excited to be announcing a couple of promotions as well as some new additional staff. Last fall we had a number of retirements, and with that left some vacancies in the Public Works Department, and so we've been able to fill those vacancies, and I'm very excited. First off, I have Dave DeMarco with me. Dave, he is our fleet manager. He comes to us from the village of Lake Forest. Dave has been in the automotive industry for quite some time and has 40 plus years working as a mechanic and a manager. So we're very excited to have Dave in our fleet department. So welcome, Dave. Thanks. With the recent retirement of Harry Mathis, I'm happy to announce that we were able to promote Bill Frisbee, who is our stormwater engineer, into this position as our Director of Water Resources. So we're very excited to have Bill there, and what you may not know is he's a graduate of Bradley University in civil engineering. He has his degree and master's in public administration. He's also a certified water operator and wastewater operator. He interned with the city. He's been with us since 2007, so we're very excited to have Bill in this position. So welcome, Bill. We also had another promotion with a couple of departures within our engineering department and some retirements. I'm happy to announce that we have promoted Jason Dupuis as our Assistant City Engineer. Jason, you all know Jason. He is a graduate of Beloit Memorial High School. He graduated from Iowa State. He started with the city in 1995. In 2002, he became a full-time employee, and so we're very excited to have Jason in this new role. So thank you, Jason. Welcome. Lastly, to round out the upper management team of the Public Works Department, Scott was unable to be with us, but you met Scott Prindeville when he was our interim director. We have since brought Scott on in a full-time position, and with a minor reorganization within the department, we now have Scott in the role of city engineer as well as deputy director of public works, just to provide some added coverage. So Scott's on vacation today with his family, but again, we're very excited to have Scott in a full-term capacity. So thank you.
Welcome. Item 3B, please.
We have a proclamation honoring Beloit International Film Festival on its 14th season.
We would like to present you with this official proclamation, and it reads, whereas the Beloit International Film Festival will launch its 14th season on February 22nd of 2019, presenting 10 days of outstanding independent films from the United States and as far away as Europe, Asia, and Latin America. And whereas BIF and almost 400 volunteers have this past year welcomed more than 8,000 people to its programs, making a significant economic impact on Beloit while celebrating its downtown. And whereas BIF welcomes the 2019 Honorary Chair, Tom Hankins, owner of Suds O'Hanahan's. And whereas BIF continues its concern for the community through such programs as Kids at BIF and the Beloit Health System BIF Care series. And whereas BIF features musical entertainment each night of the festival, including acclaimed jazz trumpeter and Beloit native Tony Scotwell on opening night. And whereas for the second year in a row, BIF has been recognized by the Wisconsin Arts Board with a prestigious Creation and Presentation Grant, which is funded by the state of Wisconsin and the National Endowment for the Arts. And whereas BIF has engaged this community, its citizens, institutions, and businesses in its efforts to bring the world to Beloit and Beloit to the world. Now, therefore, the President of the Beloit City Council hereby honors the Beloit International Film Festival on its 14th season and thanks the hundreds of volunteers for celebrating the city and its people through the power of film. The President further urges all citizens to enjoy these programs and to extend the welcome of our community to the filmmakers and visitors to BIF 2019. Presented this 18th day of February 2019 from the Beloit City Council. I'm sure you'd like to say a few words.
I would. Thank you very much, Vice President Duncan, President Levy, City Councilors, City Manager. Thank you very much for this recognition. BIF is entering its 14th season, and like the city that hosts it, our film festival this year will offer a very diverse offering. We're very proud to have filmmaker from New York, Khalik Allah, coming back. His film, unfortunately, he won't be here this year, but his film will be. It's called Black Mother, and it's a tribute to his mother from Jamaica, as well as a study of the cycle of birth and death and rebirth. So that will be a very powerful film. We also have films on transgender issues. We have films that are just fun, comedies, dramas, documentaries, the usual lineup of films that Biff presents. We also want to point out that we have the honor of having an Oscar-nominated film in the festival. It's a short film called Sing. The Oscars are Sunday night. I'm sorry, One Small Step. I'll get to Sing. One Small Step is the name of the film. The Oscars are Sunday night, the first Sunday of the festival, so we'll know whether or not that film won the award. If it does, it will be the second time that one of our films has won an award during the festival. 2 years ago, a film by the name of Sing was up for an Academy Award, and it did win during the festival. So we're hoping lightning strikes twice on that score. But we do urge everyone from the city and the surrounding area to come out. You have schedules in front of you right now. Take a look at those offerings. And with me today is our board president, Anna Kelly, our artistic director, Greg Gerard, and Greg would like to say a few words about a very special program that we have during the festival.
Yes, this year we are very happy to be celebrating women in film. Our submissions this year were rife with not just female actors, but females who are on the control side of the camera, writers, directors, cinematographers. In fact, we've got a couple films that have entire female crews. So we thought it behooved us to note that at the festival, and we are marking a lot of films that follow that celebration in the program book with a little icon that you can find, and we are bringing to town the executive director of Women in Film and Video from Washington, D.C., Melissa Houghton, interestingly enough, a Beloit College graduate. And she will be leading a panel on March 2nd, 2:30 in the afternoon, in the rooftop room at the Hotel Goodwin. It's a free event. Seating, of course, is limited, but we invite you all to come and enjoy that conversation. We think it's going to be a really unique addition to the festival this year.
So thank you again, and I want to personally thank Vice President Duncan. She's worked very closely with us for the Biff Cares segment. Beloit Health System has been a partner with us in that for a couple of years now, and it's been a pleasure working with you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Item 4, public hearings 4A, please.
Consideration of ordinance number 3637, amending the zoning district map from temporary R1A to permanent R1A for the property located at 2032 East Ridge Road.
Ms. Christensen.
On April 2nd, 2018, City Council adopted an ordinance attaching this property to the City of Beloit. Section 4 of that ordinance assigned a temporary zoning classification of temporary R1A, single-family residential district, and directed the Plan Commission to initiate a permanent zoning district classification for the property. As staff to the Plan Commission, planning staff has initiated this request. It's owned by John and Corinne Davis, and the property was annexed in order to connect their existing single-family home with a failing septic system to the city's sanitary sewer. Plan Commission reviewed this item on February 6th and voted unanimously to recommend approval of this request.
Thank
This
you.
is on your agenda for a public hearing and first reading.
Thank you. At this time, I would like to open the public hearing on item 4A. Anyone wishing to speak on item 4A this evening, please step forward and state your name and address for the record. Anyone wishing to speak on item 4A this evening? Second call, anyone wishing to speak on item 4A this evening? Third and final call, anyone wishing to speak on item 4A this evening? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing on item 4A and entertain a motion to lay this over to our next meeting. Is there such a motion? Motion by Anderson. Is there a second? Second by Forback. Any questions or comments?
Would it be appropriate to just?
I need you to turn your mic on, Councilor Preschel.
Okay. Would it be appropriate to suspend the rules, or to make a motion to suspend the rules and move this to approval at this time?
At this particular moment, since there is a motion and a second on the floor to lay it over, I would continue to lay it over to our next meeting. To answer your question, that would not be a problem, but I think once the motion and the second has been made, then we need to move it forward to lay over. So I'm thinking in the future, if someone would like to suspend the rules, then we need to do that right before I call for the motion. So, yeah, otherwise it would be in order.
It just seemed like this was kind of a, this is going to
Yeah,
happen.
and I agree. But it's, right now, since there is a motion and a second, I'll just lay it over to our next meeting. Okay, there is a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of laying it over to our next meeting, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, it lays over to the next meeting. 4B, please.
Consideration of ordinance number 3639, amending the zoning district map from C1 to PLI for the property located at 916 Bushnell Street.
Ms. Christensen, please.
Tim Beefus, on behalf of Rock County Christian School, has applied for this rezoning from C1 to PLI. It is currently the site of Rock County Christian School, the Beloit campus. The request at this point is to change the zoning to a more compatible district with the current use. The comprehensive plan does recommend office, but these churches and schools are allowed in almost every zoning district except, I think, manufacturing. This was before the Plan Commission a couple of times. They originally reviewed it in December. It was laid over to give applicant and neighbors an opportunity to meet, as a number of neighbors came out opposed. On February 6th, the Plan Commission voted 4-1 to recommend approval of this zoning map amendment based on the findings of fact, which are included in your packet towards the back of the staff report. So the Section 2-304 of the zoning ordinance basically lists the 4 standards, which are that the existing use of the property within the general area of the subject property, which they're not proposing any change in use. It's still planned to be used as a school. The zoning classification of property within the general area of the subject property. There is R1B zoning on the north and east side. Horsewhite Park is across the street, also zoned PLI, and to the south properties are zoned PUD and C1. The suitability of the subject property for the uses permitted under the existing zoning classification. This use is permitted in C1 and PLI. And then the trend of development and zoning map amendments in the general area of the subject property. This area is already fully developed, and so there's not been recent development and zoning changes, although school did recently construct a major addition to the school building. This is on your agenda for public hearing and first reading.
Thank you. At this time, I would like to open the public hearing on item 4B. Anyone wishing to speak on item 4B this evening, please step forward, state your name and address for the record. First call, anyone wishing to speak under item 4B, please come forward, state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Sean Gillen. I live on the corner of Park and Bushnell, 905 Bushnell Street.
Okay.
My reasons for opposing the zoning change are based solely on the school's original reason to request this change, so that it could place a large EVM digital sign where the school's current sign is on the corner of Park Avenue and Bushnell. Although school officials now say they are tabling the proposed sign, there is nothing legally binding about their statement. And we are aware as neighbors that the school's leadership will soon change. Should the City Council accept the zoning change, and in the future the school later decides to place a sign like the one proposed last month, neighbors adjacent to the school, like my family, will have no recourse. The sign's design would undergo an architectural review with the city, but that review is not open for public input, nor is the public even notified of the request. For this reason, I oppose the zoning change and ask that you vote no. Our opposition to the zoning change is also based on the intrusive nature of the tabled digital sign. There is a sign that Rock County Christian's contractor had on this project that he described to us as being identical to the sign of St. Peter's Catholic Church in South Beloit. That sign's right in front of the church, facing Blackhawk, or kind of vertical to Blackhawk. That sign's a glaring eyesore on Blackhawk and dominates the stretch of South Beloit's downtown. No one, including all members of the City Council and the City Manager, would want to live within sight of that sign. In fact, it would be 30 yards from my front window and illuminate my entire first floor and the second floor. If the sign were installed, one of my other neighbors along Park Avenue, a lifelong resident of Beloit and of her home, would have 2 signs shining in the pathway of her front room. Our city, Beloit College, our neighbors, and my family, and even recently Hendricks Construction Company, have invested heavily in restoring the College Park neighborhood and turning it into one of the city's many assets. A bright digital sign would detract from the atmosphere of a historic residential neighborhood and is opposed by property owners who live across from the school, several of whom are here with you tonight. Again, we ask that you vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on item 4B, please step forward and state your name and address.
Yes, my name is Mary Borskas. My husband and I live at 917 Bushnell Street, and I would just like to read a short statement. We're here to oppose this zoning change. RCCS, Rock County Christian School, has been a good neighbor, and we hope that they continue to be so. Our opposition to the rezoning request is based on the fact that should the rezoning be approved, RCCS could at a future date install an EBM sign without any public input, because the PLI zone category currently has a permitted use rather than a conditional use clause for such signs. Our reason for opposing the zoning change rests on RCC's original motivation for a zoning request change. They wanted to install a new large digital sign in place of the current sign on the corner of Bushnell Street and Park Avenue. Although the school currently does not have the funding to install the sign, if the zoning change request is approved, they could install a new sign when they do have the money without any public input. Therefore, we ask that either you vote no on the rezoning request, or if legally more appropriate, not move approval of the rezoning, or not second the motion if one is made. We respectfully ask council members to push for changes to the PLI zoning standards for electronic variable messaging signs from permitted use to conditional use. Our neighbors have outlined in their letters and phone calls to you, as well as subsequent speakers, about the intrusive nature of the tabled digital sign originally proposed to the Planning Commission by the school. We agree with their assessments of the negative impact on the neighborhood. We would remind council members that Bushnell Street is a narrow street, so any future EVM sign would be about 125 feet from the doorstep of their nearest residential neighbor. I would ask you to consider whether you would want a sign like that, 125 feet from your living room window. One of the neighbors has put together a little map here showing the distance to the three properties concerned. Let's see, which way is it here? The shortest distance being the 125 feet. So if I could distribute these to council members.
City Clerk.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I was speaking on behalf of myself and my husband, who is also here.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Larry Hanson, 2743 Scotty's Drive, speaking on behalf of Mary Hanson, 620 Park Avenue, if you allow. She is unable to attend tonight's meeting due to ill health. I'm just going to read her letter that she emailed to all of you. And so I'm submitting the following statement, writing to go on the record as opposing the rezoning of the land parcel at the southeast corner of Park and Bushnell. The current owner, Rock County Christian School, requests rezoning from C1 Office District to a PLI Public Lands and Institution District. The original stated primary purpose for the rezoning is to erect a large, brightly lit moving digital sign similar to those found in busy commercial districts. While the RCS administration says they have temporarily tabled the plans to erect the digital sign on our corner, if the rezoning is approved, they can proceed without neighborhood notification or input, and many of us believe that that is their plan. Our request to relocate the proposed digital sign to face another direction have been declined. A similar sign installed by the same company may be viewed on Black Hawk Boulevard in South Beloit near St. Peter's Church. This will give you an idea of the distracting, intrusive qualities of a bright lit, scrolling, flashing digital sign which would penetrate our historical district. I've long feared, with the documented reasons, traffic accidents at this corner due to low visibility from Bushnell, both east-west, and a limited view of cars ascending the Park Avenue hill across from Horace White Park. I expect traffic accidents may increase with the installation of such a distracting sign. Please vote no on this rezoning, and a suggestion: it may be good to have Planning Commission work with Historical Landmarks Commission when developing land adjacent to designated historical neighborhoods with features that will surpass their boundaries and penetrate into historical lands. How my feet from the historical properties must one how many feet, from the historical property must one be to start placing commercial digital scrolling brightly lit signs which will extend beyond their land borders and penetrate into our historical neighborhoods. And my house is in direct line of sight. I would much prefer the city of Beloit erect a large rustic hand-painted sign saying, "Welcome to the College Park Historical District." Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Dr. Barbara Higgins, 905 Bushnell Street. As you have already heard from some of our neighbors, we are concerned about light pollution, in specific how it regards this sign. In consideration of other signs, I performed a informal survey of sorts of schools in the Beloit area and drove around looking at approximately 15 different schools to see the kind of signs that they had. Only about a third to a half have some sort of digital sign. On many of the schools, the design of the building allows it to be somewhat unobtrusive, or they don't have residential homes on all sides of the building. Rock County Christian School is in a very different situation because the lot is very small and it's directly facing the historic neighborhood on a very narrow street. I believe that the city needs to come up with better regulations about guiding the use of digital signing in residential areas to minimize light pollution. I do have copies of some of the photographs that I had taken if you would care to see them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Anita Williams, 911 Bushnell. I'm speaking on behalf of myself and my husband, who is also here this evening. We live in an R2 residential district that is also part of the College Park Historic District. We've been here since 1973. Rock County Christian School originally requested this rezoning so they could install an electronic variable messaging sign near the location of their present sign. These signs are LED lighted and very bright, using colored letters, numbers, and symbols that rotate through a sequence controlled by the owner. They are far brighter and more distracting than the present sign. Professor Gillen, on behalf of his family, my family, the Boris Kazais, and Mary Hansen, who would have an unobstructed view of a sign from her home on Park Avenue, was present at the Plan Commission's public hearing in December and spoke against the rezoning. He was asked to arrange a meeting with representatives from the school to work out a compromise. That meeting took place, but since the school does not want to move the sign further south or have it face only west, there was no compromise to be had. When we, the neighbors, went to the next meeting of the Plan Commission to report back the results of our meeting, we were denied the opportunity to speak at all. And as a former chairman and Plan Commission member, I found this extremely disturbing, improper, and frankly, small d, undemocratic. The school has since said that they are tabling the sign request. They told us at the meeting of the neighbors, the principal and their school board chair, that they do not have the money for the sign which the parents group wants to install. This would seemingly put an end to our concern, except for the fact that once the PLI zoning is granted, as other speakers have said this evening, the school would be allowed to install an EVM on the property, whether that request is made next week, next month, next year, or whenever it is that they raise the money or are given the money for a sign. Mr. Beef has said to us in an email that was dated January 10th, we have decided to table this project. If the idea of a new sign comes up in the future, I believe that those in authority will work with everyone involved, which clearly implies to us that the project is not dead, only on the shelf, awaiting a fairy godmother to fund it, or the passage of time to raise the money. For this reason, that once the PLI zoning is granted, the sign can follow without any public input, we oppose the rezoning. We think that it is inappropriate to create a zoning situation where an EVM can be placed across from a residential district, most significantly across from an historic district. We doubt that any of you would want such a sign across the street from your homes. We urge you to direct the Planning Division to work to amend the sign ordinance to address the issue of light pollution from EVMs across from residential districts. We ask that you not move approval of this rezoning request, that you not second any motion to approve the request, and if the motion is placed on the floor for a vote, that you vote no. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on item 4B? Third and final call. Anyone else wishing to speak on item 4B this evening? Seeing none, I would close the public hearing on item 4B. Is there a motion from council to lay this over to our next meeting?
So moved.
There's a motion by Blakely. Is there a second? Second by Presho. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of laying this over to our next meeting, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
One opposed. So it moves to our next meeting on the vote of 6-1. We've reached item 5 on the agenda is public comments. This is an opportunity for individuals to come forward and speak on items that may not be on the agenda. We do let you know that staff and council people will not take action on the item, but this is an opportunity for you to come speak. I don't have any sheets, but you do not need to fill out a sheet. If anyone would like to speak under public comments this evening, we do ask you to come forward, state your name and address for the record. You would be limited to 3 minutes. I will not cut you off, but I'll give you a friendly reminder that you're approaching your 3 minutes. However, any personal attack on staff, council, I would ask you to sit down immediately. So anyone wishing to speak under citizens' participation or public comment this evening, please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Ernest Calvin. I live at 2419 Prairie Avenue. And I want to thank you guys. I asked for you to give me an explanation as to how we just came to the conclusion of putting a barrier so I could go right only. And the letter, like I said, I thank you for it. I'm going to read part of this letter if I could be so kind.
Okay.
It is my understanding that you asked why the cross-section north of Hubie, which is included on the street bike lane, which includes on-street bike lane, on-vehicle travel lane for each direction, and a two-way left turn lane could not have been used in front of your location. It is my understanding that due to the traffic volume existing, land uses, and the potential for new development, the cross section north of Hubie was selected in part provided the most flexibility for future land development. This means that as vacant parcels of land are developed, left turn access can be provided in a specific location needed by the development without reconfiguring raised median. So we don't want to put one there because of potential development coming. But the travel patterns lands uses travel pattern land uses and density near your location are well established, and the city believes the installation of the raised median will enhance the safety of the motoring public, not only now, but for future years as well. It's safe for development, but it's unsafe for me to be able to turn left. I'm going to quote something. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Which means that you're here for me, not for future development. If it's okay for future development, I feel it's okay for me. For the residents, I just have a problem understanding that. And I noticed that lately, during the last month, people like to quote Martin Luther King. They like to quote the fact that when he stated state that you overcome hate with love, you overcome darkness with light. But he also said it's never too late to do the right thing. And I would like to ask all of the council members to, just for the month of March, I want you to drive out of your driveway and drive to the right. I don't care where you're going, drive to the right. And when you come back to your driveway, enter it from the right and right only, because that's what you're trying to put on us. And it seems like for no other reason except for there's no land there to be developed. That's what your letter says. And I appreciate the fact that you did finally give me the reason.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak under public comments this evening? Third and final call. Anyone wishing to speak under public comments this evening? Come down and state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Kyle Klett, 2425 Prairie Avenue. And foremost, the gentleman that just spoke, Ernest Galvin, is my next door neighbor and a very good friend of mine. And it is very hard for me to see him the way he is now, because he's a great man. And so I'm speaking on behalf of my wife and I. And I'm not sure if I can change anything. I haven't been to any meetings before this. However, if I could, I don't want to have to leave my driveway every day and turn right. I have to go left. And when I come home, I don't want to go way down to the block and turn left or turn left early. It's an inconvenience. So as selfish as that is, that's why I'm here. And I appreciate all the work you guys do all year. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Third and final call. Anyone else wishing to speak under public comments?
My name is Carol Thorson from 2413 Prairie Avenue, and I'm speaking about the same topic, the raised median along Prairie Avenue. I have the same concerns. I brought them up in the past, and so have my neighbors, relating to the inconvenience and lack of safety if that's done, and also an inconvenience for people that want to go to the businesses on Prairie Avenue, that, the median will block their access to the businesses, and it will make an inconvenience for them to go around the block and get to the areas that they want to go to.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Larry Hansen again, 2743 Scotty's Drive. My backyard is on Prairie Avenue, and my wife and I, Vicki, attended all 3 meetings with engineering, and we are happy with 90% of what is proposed to be done. I understand these neighbors' concerns, and I would ask that that be reviewed for that limited area of residential neighborhoods. The businesses, none that I was aware of attended any of the meetings to have input, but I think maybe we should revisit the residential areas. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes item 5, public comments this evening. We move to item 6, consent agenda, please.
All items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered at this point on the agenda.
Thank you. Is there any council like anything removed from the consent agenda?
Yes, I would like 6C and 6D removed.
Item 6C and 6D will be removed from the agenda, leaving the consent agenda consisting of items 6A, 6B, 6E, 6F, and 6G. Anyone else like anything else removed from the consent agenda? If not, I would entertain a motion for that portion of the agenda.
So moved.
On the So motion by Duncan. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Forbeck. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor of approving item 6A, 6B, 6E, 6F, and 6G on the consent agenda, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that portion of the consent agenda passes. Now to the merits of 6C and 6D. Council pressure, if it's okay, we'll look at both of those together. Do you want a staff presentation, or what is your pleasure with that?
I would like to lay it over to the next meeting, so we have a complete packet.
What I would like to do with 6C and 6D is I would, instead of laying it over to the next meeting at that, because that involves a couple of different committees and commissions, that I would like to lay this over in a definitely, and it's kind of like an indefinite period of time till we can get some information from both parties. I'm going to yield to the city attorney, Attorney Krieger.
If your interest is just to lay this matter over so the council does not act this evening and then has the opportunity to make sure the appropriate documents are before the Plan Commission and the City Council, just meet them to lay the matter over to an indefinite date to be brought back at a later time.
Right. And that's exactly where I was going, that we would lay it over to an indefinite date, giving them opportunity to get back with the Plan Commission and Council with the information that we may need to make a good decision.
The Plan Commission's been canceled this week.
Right, so that's why if you lay it over to our next meeting, we wouldn't be able to get back with them, so. Everyone clear on that? So is there a motion to lay over 6C and 6D to an indefinite motion by Forbeck? Is there a second by Jacobson? Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of laying this over, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, laid over. Thank you very much. Item 7, licenses, 7A, please.
Consideration of Resolution 2019-18 approving the 2017-2019 applicants for an alcohol beverage operator bartender's license for the period of January 28th through February 12th, 2019. You have before you 4 recommendations for approval, 0 for denial.
Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Blakely. Is there a second? Second by Duncan. Any questions or comments? All those in favor of approval, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes 7-0. Item 8, ordinances. 8A, please.
Consideration of ordinance number 3640 to amend in certain sections of the Index of Special Locations, Section 1302 of the Code of General Ordinances of the City of Beloit relating to the establishment of multi-way stop signs along Central Avenue.
Director Williamson, I'm sorry.
Good evening. You have before you an ordinance to establish a 4-way stop sign at the intersection of Central and Chapin and Central and Emerson. This was brought forth from a citizen request. Upon staff review, neither intersection met the criteria for the multi-way stop sign installation. Further, the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, or what we refer to as MUTCD, recommends against the installation of unwarranted signs. With that, the Traffic Review Committee reviewed the request at their January 28th meeting and voted 5-1 in favor of keeping the existing signs, not to put a 4-way sign, but to keep it as 2-way stop sign control. Both staff and the Traffic Review Committee recommend denial of the proposed ordinance.
Thank you. This is on our agenda for the first reading. Is there a motion to lay this over to our next meeting? Motion by Blakely, second by Presho. Any questions or comments?
I guess I just have a comment that I was glad to be educated about. There are specific reasons for this refusal by staff. There are either 5 or 6 reasons to add these from 2 to 4 stop signs, and neither of these intersections passed any of them. So I think it's important for the public to know that.
Thank you. Before we move, I just want to make sure that we're all clear, because a lot of times with ordinances we get, it's a little confusing. So I'm going to explain this, and if there's any questions, then I want to make sure that we're clear. I'm going to yield to the city attorney to kind of just in case I mess something up. Basically, when we moved this is on our agenda for the first reading. There's been a motion and a second to lay this over to our next meeting. When I call for the vote, that's just going to lay it over to the next meeting. When we get to that point where we are voting to whether we want to approve this or not, if we vote in favor to an affirmative, we're voting to say the stop signs go up. If we vote no, we're supporting staff's decision and the stop signs do not go up. So if you need clarity in that before our next meeting, then I'm going to ask you to reach out to the city manager for some clarity there. But that's what it means as we move to the next 2 weeks. But tonight, when I call for the vote, since there's a motion and a second, if you vote in favor, we're going to lay it over to our next meeting. If no one votes at all,
You all must vote.
we all must vote on this.
One way or the other.
One way or another, because
So
it's
the
a motion and a
before-
second. So it's a motion and a second, so we all must vote one way or another.
But if,
You have a motion and a second to lay the matter over. If you don't vote in favor of the motion to lay over, then the matter would die here today. If you move to lay it over, it'll come back to you in 2 weeks for a final reading.
Everyone clear? So all those in favor of laying item 8A over to the next meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Roll call, please, on that one.
Anderson. Blakely.
Aye.
Duncan.
aye.
Forbeck.
No.
Jacobson.
No.
Levy.
No.
Preschel.
No.
It fails 5-2.
Thank you. Item 8B, please.
Consideration of ordinance number 3638 to amend certain sections of the Index of Special Locations, Section 1302 of the Code of General Ordinances of the City of Beloit, relating to the establishment of terrace parking along Central Avenue.
Director Williamson, please.
Good evening again. You have before you an ordinance to establish terrace parking along Central Avenue adjacent to 1400 White Avenue. This request is coming prior to establishing some additional rezoning for the property, but the rezoning would require the establishment of off-street parking, which is what's before you this evening. Excuse me. Given the angle of the terrace parking to accommodate that, it would actually restrict the travel lanes and cause conflicts when the vehicles are entering and exiting the parking area, given its proximity to Central Avenue. With that, the Traffic Review Committee reviewed the request at the January 28th meeting and voted 6-0 against the establishment of parking for this area. Further, both staff and the Traffic Review Committee are recommending denial of the proposed ordinance.
Thank you. Item 8B is on our agenda for first reading. Same rules apply. Same discussion. Is there a motion to lay it over to our next meeting? Second call, is there a motion to lay it over to our next meeting? Seeing that we do not have a motion to lay this over to our next meeting, it dies for lack of a motion. Thank you. Item 9, appointments.
The individuals about to be named have been nominated for a seat on the City Board Committee or Commission. Each nomination is subject to confirmation by the City Council. Approval of appointment will be accomplished by one motion unless a council member requests to take a nomination separately, in which event the nomination will be removed from the general order of business and considered at this point on the agenda. You have 2 appointments this evening. Appointment Review Committee would like to appoint incumbent Louise Reidenbach to a term ending December 31st, 2021. The Municipal Golf Committee would like to appoint Jeffrey Allen Case as the Men's Club representative as an ex officio member.
Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Blakely, is there a second? Second by Preschel. Questions or comments?
Blakely didn't.
Blakely, I'm Forback, I'm sorry. Forback and Preschel. There's a motion by Forback, second by Preschel. Any questions or comments? All those in favor of approval say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, passes 7-0. Item 10, council activities and upcoming events. Councilor Jacobson.
It was, I just want to congratulate the new hires. I know they've already gone home, but it was nice to see that many new officers here tonight. And I also want to ask staff, I want to thank staff for helping us with all the questions we had regarding the rezoning, the proposed rezoning of 916 Bushnell. I'd like to ask if we could, I could look this up in the zoning ordinance, so I'm putting it on you just so that we all can get the same information at one time. Could we get a list of uses that are allowed in the C1 and also in the PLI so that we can compare them when we review the zoning application that's before us? I know there was a lot of talk about the sign, but really I think we need to focus on what the zoning change would create. So that's all I have.
Councilor Anderson.
Just wanted to give a quick shout out to my youth hockey team I coach. Last 2 weekends we went to tournaments. We went to the Badger State Games 2 weeks ago and got third, and then yesterday we just won a championship up in Anago, so I wanted to give them a shout out today.
Hey, all right.
Yep.
Councilor Blakely.
I got to attend the first meeting of the consolidated plan. Ooh, the winter really wreaks havoc on a hairdo, you know? Honestly.
I can't do this. I mean, I can't.
It's my time. I got to attend the first meeting of the Consolidated Plan Steering Committee relating to housing and homelessness, a very serious topic for our city. It was well attended by agency representatives from throughout Rock County, and I feel like we all learned a lot from one another. There are many people in our county and in our city especially who are concerned about the issues of homelessness and trying to accommodate people, help people get off the streets. So I just wanted to send out my thanks to everyone who attended that and let everybody in the city know that there's a lot of genuine hard work going on to try to help our homeless people.
Councilor Forbeck.
Well, since I live downtown, I just really want to compliment our city workers on their snow removal. I can just look out right on Grand, so I can really pay attention to that. And again, well done. Also, last week, all of us here on the council had our first workshop dealing with alcohol license issues, and we're going to be having another workshop also. So I just want people to, our citizens to know that we're following through on things that had come up some months ago. And again, it's always good to be educated on issues.
Councilor Preschel.
Well, I have nothing to add this week.
Okay, Councilor. Councilor Vice President Duncan.
Just want to share that I attended the Appointment Review Committee meeting along with Council President Levy on February 11th, and want members of the public to know that we still have some vacancies on some of our city committees. So I encourage citizens to please take a look at our website and consider joining one of them. And we're always looking for talented individuals, so come on board. And then we also have a couple openings for youth who may be willing to serve. Also, our council, like Councilor Forbeck mentioned, had a workshop with staff and the Alcohol Beverage License Committee. We received information about alcohol licensing, regulations, and guidelines. And I look forward to continuing the conversation about density and how we can address relative challenges. Also, in addition to that, I attended an audit committee meeting with the Greater Beloit Economic Development Committee. And I just want to take a moment to thank Andrew Yankee for his hard work. Andrew, you are doing a fantastic job. I also want to thank the anonymous donor that stepped up to the plate and offered a $52,000 match opportunity to help United Way meet their goal of $2.6 million. It really shows that our local residents understand the value of the United Way programs, which help people to tackle hunger, homelessness, poverty, family violence, addiction, illiteracy, and more. So to each and every person that generously gave to United Way, I want to say thank you for helping us spread the love. We can never doubt the caring power of our community. Lastly, I participated in 2 Black History programs, one at Aldridge and another at McNeil Middle School. I want to give a shout out to Joe Vidris, Michelle Hendricks-Nora, Alicia Wash, Audrey Vaughn, Mrs. Hanson, and the 8th graders at Aldridge, and Mrs. Murray and the 5th graders at McNeil. They put a lot of work into organizing the events with our community leaders. Many thanks to them. Black History Month is a time when we recognize the contribution of African Americans, but I hope this is something we can keep talking about throughout the year because we truly have more in common than differences. I also want to mention that President Levy was the speaker for the Black History Program at Aldridge. I want to thank you, Kevin, for a job well done. You gave some very inspirational words of wisdom to our youth and put together a great PowerPoint presentation. You really made me proud to be a Beloit City Councilor. So thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Thank you very much. And one of the things that we do in the city, we're always looking to move forward and seeing how we can do things a little bit better, quicker, faster, organized. So as you see, we're hiding behind these wonderful things down here. So I want to thank Lori and Ray. What we have here is now we usually bring our computers down here and hook them up and log into our packet, but now we have these that we can look on our packet. So if you see us looking at this, we're not watching TV.
Although March Madness is coming.
Good doctor will be on in about an hour, so we're going to be looking at all that, seeing how we can incorporate some of that. But kudos to Lori and Ray, Lori Stoutler, the city clerk, and Ray.
Jason.
And Jason, okay, everyone involved in putting this together because truly it has helped tremendously, and it's going to help the committees who also come here and bring agenda packets. This is going to help streamline a lot of things. So I want to thank you for doing this for us, but I also want to thank, as we often do, the entire staff in the city of Beloit. I think there's a lot of things that go on that people don't know behind the scenes. So I want to just personally thank, on behalf of the council, everyone who works for the city and all the volunteers as well. We've also, the last few weeks, had wonderful weather, sunny every day. So we really didn't need snow plows, but we know that's not true. So I really, again, thank our plow drivers, our firemen, our police officers, code enforcement people, the people that are out there in this weather while we're sitting in the house doing this job. So I want to give kudos to all of them, and trash people and everyone. So we said it before, but I think every time we meet, if it's a cold day, we need to let them know that we greatly appreciate them. And Jason, congratulations on your promotion. And for those of you, Jason may be quiet, but Jason is the type of person that we all go to if we have questions, and you show up in his office and he knows exactly where the projects are. When I'm talking to him, it's like, okay, here's what we're doing. And my always question is, but why? And he's like, well, he can explain it to you. Okay, why? So I think Lori and Jason and DPW staff, that when you call out there and ask questions, because we had many about the Milwaukee Road interesting thing out there, but I want to thank you for that. But kudos to Sarah as well, that when everything started to happen, we got lights in, we're going to put them up, that the communication truly helps the public understand what's going on out there, and it plays a big part. So kudos to you as well. But I think that's all that I have at this particular moment. Sure.
Because we want to be sure and thank our police and fire departments too for continuing to keep our city safe during all this miserable, typical winter weather we've been having. Thanks for doing a good job all the time.
Okay. And then I see, normally when you get recognized as a new employee or a promoted employee, you ease out the door, but Bill's still here too. So we want to thank him. So, and thanks for hanging out here for the meeting. And I think to the students, I'm really dragging this on so you can be here to midnight, because I think you need to get a full effect of what goes on. But we really appreciate you coming out here to see what government is all about. But this is also an opportunity for you, if you see something in the city that you want to see developed, this is the area to come to and speak up and say, hey, this is what we would like to see as the next generation, because some of them are getting old. They're going to be retiring soon, that we need to make sure we hear from you, because we got to build the city for you in the future. So feel free to come down at any time and let us know. Anything else come before the group?
Let me add that to the youth here. I do have something to add. We need a youth representative on the Parks and Recreation Commission, so feel free to apply.
Go Mark. Okay. That's all the comments that I have. Item 11, city manager's presentation. We don't have any this evening. Item 12, reports from boards and city officers. 12A, please.
The Landmarks Commission Annual Report of Historic Preservation Activities.
Alex Blazer. Thank you for
that. Good evening, councilors, city manager. I'm Alex Blazer, here to give the annual report of the Beloit Landmarks Commission. And everything's going great with me. Great. Okay. The purpose of this report is an obligation by the Landmarks Commission in accordance with the Historic Preservation Ordinance. Our present commissioners are myself, John Winkleman, Rick McGrath, Chris Gallagher, Steve Truesdale, Chris Jacobson. Our city council representative is Clinton Anderson. And our staff liaison is Hillary Rodman. Every person in the historic district who owns property must have a certificate of appropriateness for anything that they plan on doing for the exterior of their property, and we are the commission that approves those certificate of appropriateness. The historic properties in the city of Beloit consist of 321 properties. The Bluff Street District, the College Park District, the Merrill Street District, and 46 additional individually listed landmarks. This is a list of the approvals that we've made, both either by the commission or staff approved. Some of the improvements that the property owners don't necessarily have to come in front of the commission, but they do still have to have a COA. In addition to protecting and enhancing and perpetuating the preservation of the historic district, we've recently had a nomination for our Milwaukee Road and Emerson Street Historic District, which includes 150 homes that are potentially going to be added to the historic district. This is a map. If you look at it kind of close, maybe you're familiar with these neighborhoods, but this just kind of shows the proposed new district. And what questions may I be able to answer for you?
Do I have any questions? Councilor Preshow.
I see you had 4 handrails and porch repairs. Were any of those a result of the postmaster's misaddressed
I believe
letter?
So. I believe so. And when that came up, because we had such a short period to, to provide them.
They eventually kind of retracted some of their rhetoric or something.
Right. And we asked them for an extension for the particular residents who were affected by that. And there was kind of a touchy situation because we said that we could give them approval to do something temporary, but if they went into doing something very extensive, that they may risk the possibility of having it retracted. So, But it all worked out, and we did get some cooperation with the Postal Service. And
No, there was just the four there, so I didn't know where we're at with that, and I just thought that was, I wonder if there was a relationship. That was my curiosity there.
It definitely did.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, thank you.
All right,
very
thank you.
much. Item 12.
Thank you.
Item 13, is there a motion to adjourn? Motion by Jacobson, is there a second by Duncan? Any questions or comments? All those in favor of adjournment, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, we adjourn.
This is rude. Canada.